Hello, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are watching us and listening to African Hour. My name is Fru Nde Nkimbe. I am host and producer of African Hour here in Boston, Massachusetts. African Hour has been on the air since 2000. And African Hour is the voice of the people. We listen to our audiences, and some of them bring topics that we discuss. And my guests, they come, they share their knowledge, and I appreciate them for their time. And I would like, first of all, to say that African Hour is not responsible for what my guests say. Today's topic is very crucial. Historically, we know that war comes because of many things: economic, land, and labor. I have been called from ground zero, Amazonia, that there is a pattern that is going on. And historically, we know that the colonizers, wherever they go, be it in Australia, be it in America, be it in New Zealand, in Africa, their first priority is to grab land and then grab the labor force and what is underneath the land. So my guests today would like to look at this from the perspective that Amazonia is where our navel is, and we'd like to see what is going on. Without taking much time, I would like to bring in my guest, Comrade Milan Atam, zooming in from Nairobi, Kenya, there on duty. Comrade Milan, you are welcome on African Hour.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Right in the mainland, Midwest, Comrade Gideon Asanji, coming in from Missouri, Kansas. Am I right?
That is correct.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure to be here.
Again, you are very welcome. The problem that we are having at home touches all of us. I would like each of you to address my audience and say a little bit about yourself. From the motherland, Comrade Milan, coming from Nairobi, Kenya.
Thank you very much. Thanks and good evening, and I think good evening for those in the US, west of the Atlantic, and good morning to those who are on this side of the world. Thanks so much for having us on this show. My name is Milan Atam. I am the chairman of the Southern Cameroons Alliance. Presently working with a whole lot of comrades around the Southern Cameroon's caucuses, building cohesion amongst our people towards the liberation of our homeland. Thank you.
Over to you in Missouri, in the heartland of America, Comrade Asanji.
Thank you, Pa. Gideon Asanji is my name. I'm from Missouri, currently living in Missouri, and it's a pleasure, Papa, to be on your show. And as an Amazonian, I want to say I'm very, very honored, to be on this call. So much so that we'll be able to have some good, let me say, a good conversation and see how we can educate and, encourage our people to be wiser and not to fall prey to certain things, especially regarding to, the topic that we're about to talk about right now. So I'm very, very glad and honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With all the humility, we are not saying that we know it all. We have some information, and most of the information comes to us from ground zero. That from Bamenda in Southwest, that people are saying that there has been a pattern that has been going on quietly, and our land is gradually being taken over. If you go to Up Station, I don't need to tell you, and even if you go to CTC and most of the areas in the southern region, you will definitely know that the occupants of these areas, their mother tongue is not that which we really expect. Let me throw this on the floor for us to examine from a distance, and also soliciting other information from our brothers and sisters on ground zero. Again, it is out of humility, not telling people on the ground that we know that much. We are asking whether is this really true. You people on the ground, you know the facts, and some of you have called me and said that it is something that I should bring for discussion. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thanks very much. I think the topic that we are touching on is a very important one. It is important to understand that when it comes to issues of land, just like colonization and apartheid, history has taught us that this is almost always linked to economic interests. Slavery, firstly, is the question, what do we need? We need cheap labor. We need free labor. We need land where from which we can extract resources. Where do we get the land? Now the land doesn't belong to us. How do we get it so that it belongs to us? And by getting it, very often we have to deprive the indigents of that land. And when one looks at the modus operandi of La République today, it is no different from the modus operandi of the colonizers, of the apartheid system in South Africa, or today, what is going on in Palestine, where you have an immigrant group that comes in and then starts taking over the land gradually by use of force, military force. Secondly, when you look at the political leadership of the Republic of French Cameroon today, and you ask yourself, where does it get its inspiration? It's from Israel. They've been trained by the Beer intervention forces. They've been trained by the Israelis, and they use the same methods. So when it comes to land and settlers and so on, we need to look at it from that prism. Let me give you an example. Some of our viewers, and maybe you would recall that sometime around 2011, 2012, this government of Cameroon actually was leasing land in the southwest, 73,000 hectares of land to an American company called Heracles. 73,000 hectares, many may not know, is equivalent to 8 of the smallest countries in Europe put together. So this government was taking our land and handing it over to an American company, land worth 8 of the smallest countries in Europe put together, the likes of the Vatican, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and so on, put together, and Monaco, and leasing it off for 99 years. But it wasn't just the leasing of the land, it was the chasing away of about 14,000 people, villagers who have lived on that land traditionally all their lives, who were being kicked out of their traditional land in order to make space for the Americans. Even more interesting is the fact that this regime signed a deal with Heracles that allowed for them not only to occupy the land, but also that said, one, they will have full rights over that land. They can maintain a standing army on the land, which means that even the Cameroon military will have no say over what happens on this piece of land. Whatever is discovered in terms of mineral resources on the 73,000 hectares will automatically belong to Heracles. The average Cameroonian, if today precious minerals were discovered on your piece of land, your ancestral land, and you're not on a 99-year lease, this is your land. Automatically, the government walks in and takes it over from you. You don't have the right to exploit it. But it's bringing a foreign company and giving them the exclusive rights of a nation. It's basically saying, we are giving you 8 of the smallest countries in Europe put together for you to come and create your little country in our land, on our territory, maintain an army and exploit the land for 99 years renewable.
Of course, Comrade Milan, let me just interject a little bit.
Yes.
So we are talking about, but you are bringing the Americans who have technology that they can already know what is underneath that land from the
Absolutely.
sky. So they
Absolutely.
already know. That is why they have chosen that place.
That's why they were idiots. That's why they were investing in it.
I just wanted to add that.
Yes. We fought against that. I think we worked very hard with Greenpeace International at the time, I remember, 2011, 2012 into 2013. And this is the interesting thing. The gentleman who was involved in this happened to visit South Africa and was brought to my house. And when I spoke to him and learned about his role in government, I organized a meeting and invited a few friends of mine. And we asked him questions. What could push you people to do something like this? And his response was very simple. In fact, he had said, you people should understand that the world operates around corruption, and that in fact, I am advocating that corruption should be taught in schools. And basically, this gentleman received about $200,000 to basically sign the contract. So on the one hand, is a lack of vision. The other is a lack of leadership. It's a country that is run by a bunch of extremely greedy people who have got no clue what they are doing. We were in lots of ways successful in kicking out Heracles from our land. And I know some of the comrades who paid the price, some of them who ended up being jailed, tortured, and so on. This culminated in the organization of what we called the Africa Conference, the first Africa Conference on Land Grabs, which we organized in 2014 in Johannesburg. The reason I gave this as background information is to tell you that this regime does not operate first on the interest of the people, secondly, on anything that is patriotic, and thirdly, is a bunch of greedy people who only think about themselves. So a gentleman who's a small fish in this whole thing receives $200,000, and that's how he could afford to come and receive medical care in South Africa when the vast majority of our people cannot even afford going to a local hospital or local clinic. So coming back to this trend and the tendency to sponsor certain people to come and settle on prime land in our country. You look at the GRA in Boya, the upstation in Bamenda, and so on. It's not accidental. It's part of a clear government policy to take over through the most nefarious means and ensuring that over time, and I think we talked about Limbe, over time.
Victoria has already been taken.
Yes, the locals are deprived. You walk through the streets of Victoria today, French is predominantly spoken. It is no accident. It is part of a well-orchestrated plan by the regime. And so this is a very important topic we are having. And for me, I think I'll be very, very interested to hear and of course to share what do we plan to do when we eventually take over our land, our homeland. How do we hope to then address these issues? Because they have to be addressed. Today, these are issues which are being addressed in South Africa, for instance. It's a big topic in Namibia, where you have, for instance, Germans or young people of German origin, some of whom have never been to Namibia, many of whom come to Namibia once a year for 2 weeks to come and visit and just have a look at their land to be sure that his land is still secure. And then he goes back to Germany, has never lived in Namibia, doesn't know Namibia, but he owns hectares and hectares of land.
Inherited it from his father.
From the grandfather who took it from the locals through an act of genocide, which is basically what's happening on our homeland today. So how do we address this now? And how do we address this in the future? For me, are very important questions that I would be interested for us to look at. Over.
Well, thank you very much, Comrade Milan, for that opening remarks. And if I recall very well, and if my memory could trust me, I would say that they always talk about 2 cubes of sugar be dissolved, and there are so many ways of dissolving the 2 cubes of sugar.
Absolutely.
So don't be fooled. These are the strategies of dissolving the 2 cubes of sugar. Because first of all, they looted our treasury and rendered us poor, and the same money that our money, they are lending it to people, and these very people arrogantly are using it to grab our land to gradually dissolve the 2 cubes of sugar. Comrade Asanji.
Thank you very much, Pa. I think Comrade Milan has really touched on, so let me say, touch on, the existential threat that this land grabbing can have on our people. And I love the way he ended by talking about what we should or what we can do, in order to prevent the history that we've seen across Africa, like in Zimbabwe, like in South Africa, and Namibia that he just, spoke about. I think land grabbing is not just about land. When the enemy grabs land during war, it's not simply, taking soil. It's taking the homes, taking the farms, the schools, the future of the
graves,
people.
ancestral lands.
Yeah. Land is life. To lose land is to lose your identity, your livelihood, and your security. I think land grabbing in general is a very, very dangerous weapon of war that every colonizer will definitely look at. Detailing, and they will use it systematically. If you don't pay attention, or call attention to your people, before you know it, generation upon generation will suffer the consequences. And I'm very glad that you brought this to our attention so that we could, have a conversation, talk to our people, educate the minds of our people such that they understand the gravity of what can happen or what is already happening, such that they can start taking precautions. So we don't get into the position where we see some of our brothers and sisters in South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe. You remember when Robert Mugabe of late, the fight that he had, one of the reasons why he was unable to really come up and be very successful as a leader was because internationally, they kind of drain everything. They kind of put him like in a box economically, such that he could not do much. You cannot survive as an island in this world of today economically. So I think history has shown, just like Comrade Milan said, across Africa and the world, that colonial powers and occupying forces have always used land, land grab to consolidate domination, from apartheid, in South Africa, Palestine today. Land has been central battlefield. Ambazonia is not going to be different. We, just like you have been saying, we've seen what is happening in Victoria. We see what is happening down there, even in Boya. We see what is happening in Upstation, and I'm sure it's all over across Ambazonia. We have to be very, very vigilant. We have to pay attention to our ancestral land so the regime cannot plant its agent and rewrite ownership. They will come with these deals, left, right, center. They start bringing all kinds of laws that will create, situation where people will have new lands from nowhere and all that. So I think this topic is too important for us to neglect, but that we should, maybe use this opportunity to educate our people and find do more research and see how we can even use have this program maybe continuously, such that we can educate our people more in the future. For now, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful ideas. I would also like to say that it's not only La République that is doing this. If you look around our countries, the mission, the church too, is another land grab. I would tell you in Mancon, my grandfather's land was taken, mostly the Catholic Church. Wherever they go, they get very strategic land.
Yeah.
And this land, they give it to them for free. And then some people argue that, the Catholic Church have built schools, they are building hospitals. These are commercial. They take the land for free. They turn it into commercial activities that is bringing them money. And then you go there, even the families. I have my family, they've given them strategic land. I don't really want to mention, but not even a single member of the family is sponsored. When I was growing up in Bamenda, you have the Bamenda Forest, where there is now government high school, the GRA. You go down southern region, they have parks. These parks, they actually vegetate the city. They make city, they look green. It equally bring moisture. And that is the essence of park. So we just want for say, may with mama, may with papa, and may the lawyer, they do whatever they can do for actually preserve the land. Because as the train go, the train of the events that go, you realize that tomorrow Ambazonians they will live they will be paying a rent inside Ambazonia.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is it. So in this aspect, somebody called me from home. He said the government take a lot of land from CDC and even for Bamenda area. Say they want to resettle the fighters. I don't really know how this is good for the people or those people that they resettle. Do they own this land? How many houses have been built? And how is the land that was taken to rehabilitate, as they call it, being used? I equally just think, say, now another strategy for grab the land and then divide it amongst themselves. Some of these things, like I said, we are hearing bits and pieces and comparing with what is going on around the world and comparing with what the strategy of the regime is, that they want to dissolve those cubes of sugar. Yeah. And that is what the president said here at an interview, that their intention was not really for us to live like equals, but to make us look like slaves.
Yes.
This is open for discussion, and we are not experts in it. The information is coming to us, bits and pieces, and we see how family land, state land is being taken, and those who are owning these lands are not Ambazonian. A case in point, someone tell me, say, even family members for their land, they go for get certificate for build on their land. They don't get it. But they see another person, Francophone, he can buy that land within a month, a story building. Let me just open this up with other ideas and what you people have heard. May we just the trump, because we just want to say, may we the discourse, because the importance of African hour, nobody say with the this program that for tell you know what for do, now for hear and bring up, so that may we open our minds, because they said person where it control media, that person where it control the discussion. This thing concern we all, even though we day out. Eventually, you want go place your ancestral land. You stand, you want see somebody can ask, what you do and for day.
Yeah, thank you, Pap. I just just to support support the conversation we're having and throw some light. This is kind of I would say forced displacement that they're having on our people. And according to the United Nations, over 1.5 million Southern Cameroonians have been displaced since the conflict began in 2016. Many of them lost not just homes, but also the land that sustained their families, for generations. You can imagine 1.5 million of our people displaced, and they might never have the land that they had before displacement. And I would say on international law, you see, let me say, I think it's the fourth Geneva Convention, Article 49 is clear on an occupying power cannot forcibly, transfer or displace a population or seize land during war. What we are witnessing in Ambazonia is a textbook violation of international humanitarian law. We must educate our people and push them to know their rights. Land has always been historically a colonial tool, just like both of you have explained before. And history teaches us that, let me say in South Africa, under apartheid, land grabs reduced Africans to owning less than 13% of their own land. The same tactics is in play right in our faces today. From every indication, from the calls you are receiving, from the things we are seeing, from what our people are going through, it is the same playbook. We must open our eyes and educate our people.
Yeah, Comrade Milan, you did South Africa. Now they fight now about this land issue. Now, so it starts. When once the people don't grab the land, now they will say that their land, the owner. And at the same thing way, just go up station, Bamenda, go Victoria along the coast. The people where they rent, where they don't even get money, but when they pay rent, they know they pay rents now for the indigenes. Yeah. They pay rent now for people where they grab the land. Go all over, plantations, the strategic places. I wonder, they talk about election, whether any of these candidates, they look at all this issue like a problem, because if these guys they really consider saying, not only one country, why the strategy it be affected only the Southern Cameroon and Bazonian lands. Some video become where they drive refugees, where they run go for that side for Eastern Province, they burn their houses, they burn farms.
They kill some.
They kill some. I don't understand. Please, the situation where South Africa they fight now, and you see them every day. Can you actually just link them to our own situation from Ambazonia where we see them now?
I think you don't already talk them. The first thing I say, we get history to learn from. You know, they're like some new thing with the Cameroon. When you look at what it is, you talk about the politicians that go towards elections. Make a give una a bit of background around how this regime they operate. Right now, as we talk, they don't allocate prime land for parliamentarians. In fact, how I know, one of the brothers called me about 2 weeks ago. He tell me, say, now I don't understand why these parliamentarians they know they look, they know they care about we interests. I say, why? He say, what this government they do now, I say, don't take them where they don't choose like parliamentarians and senators. They take them, go for Yaoundé. They look at prime land around all that area, Yaoundé, Mbalmayo, and so on. They give them, may they settle they go give them money, may they build house. But when you take 80 or 90 people, they claim to represent the people, you go for the other side, you go give them land, give them a place to build house, give them everything. One, that you don't cut their links with the people where they claim to represent. Two, you play the same game with them, where you play with their people back at home. Because you take 70, 80, or I don't know, 50 of them, how many they don't take them like parliamentarians? They go give them land for them. Now, if you tell them, say, but we'll get to tackle this issue, they'll say, no, but now we these two fair, they don't give we land. The question is how many of them they give them and how much of we land did they take them. So, now a game, and a game we will need for understanding. Few parliamentarians, now then they make the laws, So when it comes to defending the rights of the people, they no fit defend them because themselves have the chop inside.
And for supporting when you talk, Comrade Milan,
Yes,
that money, the investment in the development of that site,
absolutely.
you see,
Absolutely.
they use your own people,
That same money, yes,
just like the house slave. They use your own people. So in the end,
against you.
the house
Yes.
slave will say he would like for die in the house.
And
With
he go
the,
sell
for save the
the
master.
field slave.
Very true.
Yes. When it comes to field slave, you no get the interest of the field slave at heart. Absolutely. Now, you take the CDC, for instance. Any possible we don't take the time for read the history of the CDC and the plantations and this giant economic corporations and we will be getting. Not be even the French government be put them in place. Now the Germans, they be put them. And when the Germans, they lost the war, the French, they inherit them over time.
Yeah.
So what you would see now, basically a people, they need to build anything. They destroy everything. This whole thing of they don't take CDC all the way from, I don't know, Miselele, from Bikoko, all through Tico and so on. Most of that land, they don't say that they sell them. How you do sell land now, the same people, they open their mouth talk say CDC now the biggest employer after government.
And
But
for support your point again, Comrade Milan, CDC will they succeed now because Anglophones, they be the manager.
Absolutely.
And when these guys, they come, their strategy, that will take the land amongst them, share them amongst themselves.
Yeah. So today, they don't open up, say, no, they don't hand them back to the chiefs them. Then everybody is scrambled, take little pieces. But behind this, these people, they take the biggest chunk of this land. That part of a deliberate policy. And that's CDC. I don't know whether or not, just before we start this interview, I just get a document. It don't be signed by the Minister of Finance. Say, Mr. Bia don't sign the arrears of all CDC workers they be the OAM over the past years. Everybody be the work for CDC, they don't pay money.
Because of election and for the
election, but partly on the one hand, they pay money, CDC not they operate. But it's basically saying we don't pay on our money, we not go, we not know Hamburg, we land now on our own. So for me, this then goes back to a number of things. And as we talk around, it take a number of points. For me, number one, now we traditional rulers. One of the reasons and why, as the alliance, we set up what you call them the caucuses for address issues like this, and a very important one, a conversation with the traditional rulers. Why would they still fight for find a political permanent solution to this issue? We must look for local solution. Traditional rulers, they must understand what it go on. And we don't push for set up a meeting with them, get this kind of conversation. Say one, it no matter what the government talk or the government, the regime, whoever, but what you be thinking about the welfare of your people. I will not say maybe every traditional ruler they think big and strategic about the people, but maybe sometimes by this kind of conversation, then we will make them start to think which percentage of the land you go put them aside. No be chief, no be the fund you want to take the decision or the chief. Now he and the whole traditional council and the village council for say which percentage of the land we must put them aside with no matter what. That one no fit ever be sold. And then you talk about Mancon, for instance. Now, most of the land that don't be, you don't sell them, almost all. You don't open also take no control, no then a very little parts they remain now. So what the fund could do for make sure say that small part will remain no matter what. It not be sold to picking, will not be Mancon picking. We must get that kind of conversation. Two, why would it do that one? And maybe I don't already go into some of the things, but it be important, see, would you get this conversation now? A very deliberate policy by this regime to disenfranchise with people, take things in our own, they take them over. You talk about South Africa. I might give you once again, I mention Namibia, because now a country, it will go through the democratic dispensation before South Africa. I stayed for Namibia 2.5 years. You get a part of Windhoek, they call them Katatura. Now, for they don't take the vast majority of the Namibians, the black Namibians, they go back and for the. Now, the rest of Windhoek, it don't be white owned. You get certain parts of Windhoek where, even though na picking with the bonnie for the, it grow for the, the stay there, the go there, you don't get access, nothing. As a black person, all of the same thing we want to be talk just now. You go, you need for rent house because you need to stay close to the city. Or like myself, you come into a city where you not belong. You define place for rent, for work. You apply for, you see apartments them or houses them where they rent them. You call from your voice, your tone, to tell you say no, that house no, they're available. You call your colleague, white colleague to say, call, follow up this house for me. He call immediately. They make appointment with you. Talk say, come look the house. So even if you send an email by a name, they don't know whether you be black or white. Once you don't appear, you look them. All of a sudden, they talk say, no, the price for the house don't change. They shoot them up. So what did they do now? Say they don't create enclaves where not only them they live there. They make sure say no matter which way we do, some certain parts of the city they will limit on our numbers, either by just saying it not be available, by saying the price don't go up, or they just bring some confusion for make sure say you not stay there. And now one of the things as I talk, what did it happen now? You don't see a lot of younger generation of politicians. They don't become very radical. You get the likes of Julius Malema now. They say, we don't care how we get the land. We go take them back. We go take them back because now land. And if we want to stay for this land, we go rent them for we. And I think in some of the conversations that we need for the get them now for say how we want to make sure see. Ma give a good example. If you take Bamileke land, how many non-indigents of Bamileke origin that be able to buy land for Bamileke land? Not be a government policy. Now a clear policy of the Bamileke people say they go conserve and protect their heritage. So to a certain extent, and that one they not put now some policy paper who say officially we need to sell land to foreigners. They just make sure say they make them impossible for owner forget their land. So yes, we'll get a regime where you don't do everything for cripple with economy, cripple we possible. I mean the likes of the Nangas, the Kilos and so on, where they don't be now basically the multi-millionaires of the time. They be the middle class, they be the bill, what you call the which for South Africa, what they call them the black economic empowerment, where the government be the work towards creating a critical mass of black people where they get money and through industry, through entrepreneurship, they go create employment. Which a lot of people don't know, I say the likes of Nanga, they actually been a beneficiaries of that policy of the former Southern Cameroon, West Cameroon in the day, where the government be the identify them, help to create a black middle class, well, a Southern Cameroon's middle class. Once the Francophones they come over with Ahijo, they deliberately started destroy all of this, and then they started bring up the likes of Dampulo out of nowhere, out of nothing. So when we want to talk about land grabs and take it over land where not belong to a certain people, you start to ask yourself, Alaji Dampulo, how he comes so he don't get all this land to the point where even fund them, would he get stories about the fact he don't kill some of who fund them just because the funds they try to resist. So I also never hear the talk about solutions, but for me, as it come from my head, I talk them. The time will come we will need to go back into history. We don't talk about GRA. We talk about certain parts of GRA. We talk about Boya. We talk about Upstation. We talk about CDC, Toleti, Danpulo. Time will come, and I know say one of the reasons why they resist, that they fight so hard, they could do anything and everything for decimate with people to not find solution. Now the fear of when we start ask questions. But the time will come we will need to revisit history. Find out how you get this land. Who sell you the land? Now which kind of land? If it been a government land, so why not individuals they get them? You will talk about this forest where I go school for day from Tamulung all the way to
Tamulung. Now for there I be go read. Now for there I be from Long La, they go hide read.
There you go. I go school from Tamulung for day 7 years. It don't be completely destroyed.
Gone. And most of those places are occupied by Francophones.
Yes. Then you see I'm saying there is no vision, there is no plan, there is nothing. No, absolutely nothing. So we will need to revisit all of this. And somehow somebody will need to answer questions. So again, back to the South African experience where you ask me, now truth is that very often they do these things and they believe say once they don't do them, it don't pass. But just like South Africa, just like Namibia, just like Zimbabwe, the youth, the younger generation, 100 years later, Asians in how many years today? Now 113 years, 112 years. Peking, they don't start to revisit the questions. They don't go back to the issue of the land. They want to know how you will get this land. They want to get the land back. The Zulu king, they already started to reclaim all the land for Durban, for KwaZulu-Natal, where they be taken. They want them back. And ultimately, enough outside that will go. So it be important too. And maybe as we get this program, if fine say we also talk to with Francophone brothers then. But we don't only talk to Francophone brothers. We talk even to some of our own brothers and where they be involved in this. Say, before you buy land, do your research, ask questions. Because as they talk, the law no understand ignorance. You know, if you can say, oh, and no be no. The law does not understand. There is nothing called ignorance of the law. You either know or you don't know. You are wrong or you are right. If you be wrong, the law must take its course. And when the time will come, we will apply the law. It's as simple as that. Over.
Thank you very much. Because you see and say, this government, it gets so many tricks, strategies. No, you talk about with traditional rulers. Traditional rulers, they get power again. When me I see governor, when a francophone, it come for preach culture and traditional for with traditional rulers. That one I look and so it really passed me. Say in fact, what I don't pass Gary.
You don't pass Gary for sure, Papa.
And then I equally ask them, say, you see the government, they create their own chiefdom. They create their own people, can put us in as chiefs. And these are the very people that, whether they follow them for grab this land. So many questions they really did for the access. For me, with African, I look at them from a distance. And as a son of the soil, this program, when me I do them now for 20 years, I do them now because I believe, say, we need for talk. We need for open with eyes. We want people when they know as we did talk. So people, their eyes they open, and it is shame these people when they do this kind of thing. Now, one thing that when me I learn them for America, say government it only manipulate people if you leave that people in the dark. But if we engage this discussion, we see all this conny where they come. So even person where if he can fool you and he knows a program like this, a day where if you call his name, say he do that kind of thing for you, it will make us so they good heart he enter. He say no, better me I know if you do. The most important thing I say, if we get some ideas where we feel from a distance, we don't learn them for place where we don't as we travel around the world. So we look at, because Papa is saying you say may you go for white man country or say may you come out house and I say you be eye, you be your foot, and you be the ear, and you be the mouth.
Yes.
So when you come, Papa it will listen and say, now wait till you don't go see them where you feel make a may we to grow and better. Now I want me will give some solutions, some suggestions, not solution. From things where we see them outside, where they do them, where we see them say we feel equally share them for our own people, saying that some ideas and this way we don't see them. So if we not get any idea, I think everybody now they want for listen. But before we go to that, I want just for take 1 minute break for say una dey listen na African Hour. African Hour na program where it talk about things the way they concern we. African Hour, you know, then for make money. It then I say, may we turn on light, may we discuss, may brother and sisters, may they talk. If you see something where you feel talk, may your brother learn from, may your sister learn from. If I may you bring them, because na so country they grow. Country they grow, na say, with the talk, with the exchange ideas. So that the reason why we African Hour Day, for 20 years, I run this African Hour, I never beg anybody for money. I just check, say, na my own good heart, where me I feel contributor. So as we the wind down, so I want to thank my guest, Comrade Milan, where he did for South Africa, but right now, he talk now from Kenya, where he did it for work. And you wake up very, very early for morning. I know said now you wake up around 5 a.m.
Yes.
But for we here, for me for Boston, time now na midnight. For Comrade Asanji, time for you na 11 p.m. So we really consider say this palabra day, so it touch we for we heart. We really look am because some brothers them they cry say place where they bury their papa in grave, their ancestor, great grandpapa. They know if you go past for day because somebody can't fool chop chair. they sell that land, or because governor or government they take them. So we look the one, we just say, may we bring them, may we discuss. So again, which ideas then, when if you just, because with people for home that they look and say, you know, when I did for outside, when they talk, with some of the things that we would do, so we don't get even power because gone there for we hate. We know they do that because we like them. And we consider that one. We know they blame anybody because the power where it pass we. But if I say, may we discuss this thing, may they know say, we know thing where it happen. Say one day, Ngumba will come out and we'll fight. So my brother then, over to you.